provide mostly government clients at the local, state, and federal level, mostly the federal level. We do strategic planning for our clients, owners, construction project owners, mostly on major projects. And so it's kind of fun. It keeps me off the street. I have to put in at least 15 hours a week keeping up with this. I was trying to count how many years. I started building in 1975. I worked for ASPE Harvester. It was erecting those big blue silos all over Iowa and Nebraska. So I started counting up, you know. Turns out 1975 was a little bit long ago. I don't know, it's 47 years. And this industry is really about the only industry I know. And 40 years of being in it is just, sometimes it's just made me a cranky son of a bitch and very cynical about everything that goes on. But I want to talk today, and I've worked on, you know, this industry is you can make you a lot of money, it can cause you a lot of stress and all kinds of things. I've worked on projects that are small as just horribly little, nasty little projects. As a builder and architect, I worked first 12 years as a builder. After that, I worked about the next 15 years as a licensed architect. And after that, in 1999, started consulting with owners on strategies, mostly due to my interest in productivity in the design and construction industry and how it's partitioned and organized between designers and builders and owners. If you visit the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you'll find the 9 major industries they track in the United States. As far as productivity, the construction world, construction industry is the only major industry that has no measurable productivity increases in the last 100 years, which you can make out of that whatever you want to make out of that. What I make out of it is we kind of still proceed through contracting and such, the way our grandfathers did. In fact, I was going to read, I think the most captivating title to a presentation at this conference is, this one struck me, how sloppy contract provisions, collection procedures, and processes by estimators put my kids through college. Did you see that one, Andrew? So, and Eric Soriano asked me to come here because of the perspective of these projects. I've worked on large projects like for the Panama Canal Authority on the expansion of the Panama Canal, all the way down to one of our garages behind the house. You know, and one's not any different than the other, but the scale of magnitude, the liability risk, and all the rest of them, that's what makes projects interesting or not interesting. So, as estimators, how many people here are estimators that do estimating? And you guys are far smarter at estimating than I am. But I approach estimating from the perspective, again, from the owner's perspective, trying to put together an entity to come in and provide a project, to provide an outcome. And so there's various different ways that the owner and designers and builders interact that affect this estimating process. I do faculty instruction for the Design Build Institute, and I always have these questions I ask groups to get people to start thinking, and that's what this is all about, thinking conceptually, about how estimating and how projects unfold and how that impacts, particularly the owner's perspective. The greatest CAD software upgrade would be a little meter that adds up dollars in real time in a marketplace on bid day where you're setting the wrong line. That doesn't happen. second question is, you know, you're all builders, right? How many of you are builders? Everybody's an estimator, probably. How do you stump a builder? Huh?
Give them a budget.
No. Builders are really good with budgets. Give them a blank sheet of paper. Because for a builder, if there's not lines on paper, they don't have anything to estimate. They don't have anything. They can't contribute to the overall outcome of providing a project for an owner. The budget thing is really interesting. Builders are really good at knowing costs, real time in the live market, either through their internal knowledge, their association with recent past performance, their association with subcontractors that you all have deep relationships with. You get your favorites and everything else. You're usually up on ballot. The question is how many ballots you throw something, right? Then the third question, and this is for my clients, but they're all owners, how do you stump an owner? The answer to that is you ask them what they want. Because owners are notorious for really not knowing what the hell they want. They got an idea what they want, but they have no idea. So we've got one person that controls the design process that doesn't fully have enough knowledge and connection to be able to manage the budget efficiently. We've got a person that doesn't create designs, but if you give them one, they can predict dollars in the marketplace quite accurately, and an owner that doesn't know exactly what they want. Those three key participants bound together in a strategy, and this is where what I do comes in, bound together in a strategy can solve the problem. They can make the designer successful, the builder successful, the owner successful. Because independently, none of them have enough knowledge to drive the project to success. Collectively, they have that knowledge. As an example, and this is the wordsmithing that goes on in our industry. Who or what controls the cost of a project? The builder?
Laborers.
Laborers? Anybody else?
Vendors.
Vendors? Schedule.
It's a combination.
Designers control the cost of a project. The cost of a project is controlled by its design. Now the big trick is the person controlling the design doesn't know what that cost is, but they're controlling it. I can take this building, somebody mentioned spec books. I can take this building as it exists right now, and I can change the cost of this building by putting one word, only one word, changing one word in the specification. I could change, instead of vinyl wall coverings, I can change that word to 24 karat gold wall coverings. That's all I have to do. I change vinyl to gold, and the actual cost of this building, what, doubles, triples, something? So the designer chooses those words. The designer establishes what things are, right? And that impacts the cost. It's the estimator that reveals what that cost is. On bid day, usually, or before. Understand what I'm saying? That designer controls the cost, like 99%. That designer is trying to hit that cost that would create a market price that satisfies the owner, provided by who? The builder. So going back to the original three questions, we all have, those three major role players have a distinct knowledge base that by itself is incomplete. By itself doesn't do anything. I get the world's greatest builders and put them on a job site, and if they got a blank sheet of paper, they all stand around. Like to be told what to do. Who tells them what to do? Who sets the direction? The designer. The designers are setting the direction with blinders on to cost. Not completely. Don't take anything I say completely. But you understand that relationship. Well, at the same time, you've got an owner, and you get a designer trying to interpret an owner. And owners, the good ones at least, I should not say the good ones, the ones that provide knowledge to this triad system are the ones that can describe what they want things to do. Not what they want things to be, but what they want things to do. And if they describe well enough what things must do, I need a room that holds 50 people for presentations on PowerPoint slides that is acoustically isolated from another group of people, blah, 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 blah. I'm describing this room that has 30-foot canvas of light, et cetera, et cetera. So what you have there is you have an owner that if they can describe what things must do, then designers can interpret that and create what things must be. And they put those down in plans and specifications. And those plans and specifications are then picked up by builders, which initiate with the estimators. By specifying exactly what something is now, they can put a price to it, stack those prices together. Hopefully the designer's working with a builder and an owner to hit that target. You know, owners only have 3 questions all the time. 3 major questions. What's it cost? What's it look like? When do I get it? What's it cost? What's it look like? When do I get it? That's what all consumers have. What's it cost? What's it look like? What's the price? You know, that's what they go over and over and over again. So if you look at, let me stop there. Does everybody understand that relationship? And that relationship creates a bit dynamic. And what I want, hopefully, what I'd like to have happen, is to give you an explanation as a builder or an estimator who is one of the most key people in a successful project as an estimator. You know, the estimator is that go-to person. Estimators are one that, inside construction companies, that really is the risk taker. Or at least they're blamed for all failure, or whatever. I mean, that's a pretty heavy position to be in, right? You're going to establish a cost to something. But what it is what I want people to try to understand is in that triad that takes place, that owner, designer, and builder. You know, that's what I'm talking about, this group. That the estimator and how a project is estimated and the approach that you're following needs to be an owner that describes outcome needs such that the designers and builders can respond to those things. In other words, this is my take after 40 plus years in the industry. Owners don't know what the hell they want. Once they figure out what they want, once it's put down on paper and they finally agree to it, and most owners, you're an architect, right? We had an engineer or other architects. How many times, you draw up a plan, the owner looks at it, they go, oh yeah, that's exactly what, oh I like that, oh I like that, and then it goes out and gets built, finally built, and then they walk in and they go, oh, this is what you were talking about. Owners universally can't read plans, right? Completely. Yes.
You said it's the designer's responsibility to control costs, but, aren't we taking this session as a design-build mindset?
Yeah.
So if you get DD plans and it calls for gold-plated partition walls, is it not the estimator's responsibility to say, whoa, designer, Mr. Owner, you know you have gold-plated partition walls? That owner, I never said I wanted that. He said, let's go with vinyl. Save X amount of dollars. Yeah, that's more like, that give and take, the design-build process.
That needs to take place there.
Correct.
So let's approach it from a design build standpoint. Let me just draw this up here. This is what I wanted to bigger. A couple of years ago when I spoke, we were someplace else. I remember it was a big whiteboard, so it was a lot easier. If you have an owner, a designer, and a builder, so the matrix relationship. Let's talk about design build and talk about that relationship. What I was going to say is where we ultimately want to lead is you folks are in the, if we're going to affect productivity in this industry, we have to change how we're doing things. You know, Einstein's statement, what was it? To repeat the same process and expect different results is the definition of insanity. And yet oftentimes owners still do that, and owners are constantly, look, the growth of design build from 93 at 8% of the market to 44% of the market today is a result of owner demands, I believe. It's gone up dramatically. And so that integration is what they're looking at. Now, if you're a design builder, how many people are here are design builders? What I mean by design build, you actively, the majority of your work is associated with a designer. Does anybody got a designer in the house? You guys do? There you go. So you're truly integrated, right? You got the person that's deciding what things are, and you got the person that has the knowledge of what things cost in real time in the marketplace. That's a real powerful combination. Now, the next demand that a design builder should have, or the team should have, is that you have a knowledgeable owner that will provide information in outcome form, not on input form. What I mean that the outcome, performance metrics, outcome metrics, rather than input or directive specifications. Right? Let me show you this. This graph will show you. You've got an owner, a designer, and a builder. And look at my sheet or notes here. So we're talking about the risk, activity. You're not going to lose anything. So the first thing is if you look at what's at risk, for the owner, it's satisfying mission. They have a mission involved. They're going to house people, they're going to create a convention center, they're going to whatever it is. They got some mission, some programmatic mission. That's what they have at risk, not satisfying that mission. They don't satisfy that mission, they have failed projects, it doesn't work right, doesn't support activity. You know, that's one thing about the built environment. It's all to support human activity. Once you get into infrastructure, and it supports equipment for the most part. The designer has at risk errors and omissions, right? Isn't that the number one risk of a designer? That their recipe for what things must be has flaws in it. Those flaws could, at worst case scenario, kill somebody. What does a builder have at risk? Everybody always says dollars. Everybody's got dollars. Everybody's got dollars at risk of this. The owner pays for everything. What do builders mostly have risk about?
Time frame, labor.
Schedule and safety. You miss a date, you're going to kill somebody. Right? For the most part. For the most part. So these risks are controlled by tools. The tool that the owner uses is an RFP or an RFQ or an RF something or other. All right, they're trying to qualify. Their tool to make sure that they satisfy their mission is to go out and select the appropriate designer and builder. That's why there's competitions. You guys live in competitions, don't you? Or bids. There's a way to, you know, the solid rocket boosters on the Columbia Space Shuttle went to the lowest bidder. So sometimes things don't work out. The owner's got the RFP. What tool does the designer use to mitigate their risk? Well, that's the designers. Plans and specs. Right? What designers have that person in their office doing QC to make sure, right, that the plans and the specs don't have errors or omissions. So that's a tool they use, they perfect. That's why we've created conventions in how. Let me ask you this. I'll show you how convention was. You got a set of plans in front of you for a building. If you flip 2 to 3 sheets in, what are you going to see? Huh?
Life safety
What's the 4th sheet?
Code review.
Huh?
Code review.
Let's flip the plans over and pull the last sheet out and flip it over. What do you got there? You got electrical. Take the plans and split them in half. What do you see? Structure, building sections. 2/3 of the way back, maybe you got some detailed architectural stuff. You get 5 sheets from the back coming forward, you get mechanical. That convention is so well known, because designers put together that convention. Why? To mitigate the risk of errors and omissions. It's a very conventional process. I always found it fascinating the term construction plans. They don't show you how to construct anything. They show you hopefully what it kind of looks like after it's constructed. But plans inspect the tool. What's the builder's tool? To mitigate the risk of unsatisfied schedule and safety concerns. You know this, you all know this.
Planning, training.
Contract.
That's part of it. Designers know this really well. Sometimes they step over this boundary in the conventional line. But this is the person in charge of means and methods. You decide when something's done, how something's done, the procedures of how something's done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're the authority on a job site. The means and methods, not what has to be done, that's the plan, right? That's inside the plan. But how it's put in place, how, et cetera, that's means and methods. So we get down to the activity. I'm gonna wrap this up pretty quick, I want to go to the next phase. The activity is the owner verifies direction. The designer sets the direction through plans and specs. The builder follows directions. How many of you know what the Spirit Doctrine is? Anybody know the Spirit Doctrine? It's a 1907 Supreme Court ruling that affects everybody in this room. It's become so institutionalized in everything we do. It's inside of every plan, specs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Spirit Doctrine, you can look it up, SPERIN, states that the builder is not responsible for errors and omissions inside of plans and specifications. Basically what it is. This Supreme Court case that was argued back and forth, that builders ought to have a body of knowledge by which they can detect flaws in designs of architects and engineers, etc. The Supreme Court ruled, although they may have that capability contractually, and this was ruled as a, what's the word, the lawyers, you got any lawyers here? Where's a lawyer, whatever you need? Implied. They use the word, there's no implied obligation of a builder to bring forth that design knowledge because there is a professional that has precedence over that. So that's the Spirit Doctrine, right? That's what gives every builder the right to have change orders. That's the basis of change orders right there. You know, 2/3 of the standard AIA contract is about change orders. That change order, the power of that, if what you're doing in the plans and meant to do, means and methods, is not going to work and you have to change it, if you're a builder in the traditional sense, you didn't do the design. So here's the tricky part, the conceptual part. Okay, right here, let's say this is the contract interface, right? And what I mean by that is that's the two sides of the contract. So, the architect and engineer is an agent of the owner. The owner and the builder have a contract. So that's the contract interface. The architect's the agent. You know, traditionally, owners have always used architects because owners don't know what the hell's going on in any kind of big process. So they've always used that architect as their knowledge base and about the builders all the time. That's what owners do. The architect. Hey, these guys know what they're doing. Is this right? Are we doing this right? They see the architect as somebody that protects their unknown liability. That's why a lot of owners had a lot of problems whenever they changed in the design build. They lost their designer's security blanket, so to speak. So that's what happens. When you go to design build, which kind of we talked about, that line, that contract line's over here, but not here. All right. So this is the insanity that's in our industry right now. When an owner says, I want to do design build, and they give you 35% drawings. Now, the reason owners are wanting, particularly the federal government level, will do this a lot. They want 35% of some conceptual stuff for you to start. Okay, 90% of the success or failure of projects are the first 5% of the entire project. If there's a set of plans that are 35% complete, you've already decided 95% of the variables that impact cost and schedule and performance and all those other things. So it's really kind of an insane way of doing stuff. Not only that, owners are trying to hold on to this. There's some security blanket, an owner seeing something on paper that says, yeah, that works for me. You really don't know all that much, but they're wanting to control that. They're still going to use that architect as an agent of the owner to protect them against unscrupulous builders. By the way, you're all unscrupulous, if you didn't know that. Most owners think that way. Okay, so here's his plans and specs, but in reality, in design build, the owner wants to detach himself from this. This is why this RFP then becomes all important. That RFP and design builders should demand from the owner their RFP focuses on what they want their project to do, not be. A designer and a builder put together, a design builder, is an extremely powerful productivity game, cost saver in the construction world. This was first theorized and demonstrated by the Construction Industry Institute and Penn State University in a study that was done in 1997, and it was updated about 2 years ago. And for anybody that's interested, I can give you a link to that study. It's just a really fascinating study. And it shows, yeah.
Do you know the exact name of it?
If you see, I told you, I was old. I damn near killed a person over here earlier bumping into their table, and I can't remember. But if you Google something like Penn State University, CII Construction Industry Institute, the PANCOW, P-A-N-K-O-W Foundation funded that study. And it showed remarkable increases in output for design build. Particularly if design build is done in a real outcome-based contracting model. In other words, performance criteria. People get really confused about what performance actually means. I know I had an owner once that said, if we let designers and builders do whatever they want, I'll get a window air conditioner. And I told the owner, I said, well, if there is a window air conditioner out there that runs on 10% of the traditional energy power, that holds the ambient temperature of the space at 70 degrees plus or minus 1 degree, at 40% relative humidity, in accordance with ASHRAE standard 90.1, that is silent, has a decimal output of less than 0.2, right? Requires no maintenance, has a service life warranty for 50 years, and is invisible. I think you were included. So owners focus on what things are, and what I just described is what performance criteria are. Give me an HVAC system. What kind? I don't care. I just want to use 50% less power than an ASHRAE standard 90.1. I want the temperature held to 72 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees on a 24-hour cycle. I want the acoustic output to be whatever, blah, 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 blah. Describe what you want it to do, not what it is. Was it a 3-pipe system, 4-pipe system, or is it, it's a ventilated system, or is it a radiant system? I don't care. As an example, I don't know if you've ever heard this. If you look up the Research Support Facility, RSF, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado, it's a net zero energy operating building, which is really kind of remarkable. It's about 136,000 square foot. It's the highest rated leading facility owned by the federal government in the world. And the remarkable thing, it was built at the average cost of a Class A office building in Denver. And the owner there used performance criteria, no lines on paper, no drawings, no anything else. They let the designer builder solve the problem. They put this parameter out. I want a net zero energy building, I want blah, blah, blah. I want a service lifespan to be less than so. It was all performance criteria. And in the selection process, there really wasn't even much focus on what the building would look like. It was like, whatever you want it to look like. You know, you can tell what a building from an architectural firm is going to look like. Just look at their portfolio for the last 5 years, because that's what the next building's going to look like anyway, don't they? But this contract relationship change has a dramatic impact. Now, let's talk about the estimator's impact on this. I think to the degree the collective group of estimators or design builders in a given market area can teach and educate their owners. I tell owners all the time, they're constantly saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And I keep saying to them, if you want all those things you want, then you've got to go out and buy a tape measure and a tool belt and go out and build it yourself. But for the market you're in, that's the best you can do. It's like finding that dream car, Get it, you go online and I want a Jeep Cherokee Limited, I want the big engine, and I want blue and velvet interior, blah, 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 right? These are all the options. Fine, that's what you want. Now go find it someplace. Well, it doesn't exist in the market. That's kind of like with owners, you have to remind them, unless you're going to build it yourself, you've got to survive off the market. I'll tell you right now for the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Anybody do work for the Corps of Engineers? You know about the President's bipartisan budget output from last year? They just dropped in the Mississippi Valley District $1.9 billion of work. Okay, most of it's concentrated between New Orleans and Shreveport and all these projects. And they did a quick study of the amount of work that they have to do, and they got the money for it. It's stacked up in a big pile from a room someplace. They got all this work in this area, and the Corps did an analysis. There is not enough designers, builders, and subcontractors that live in the 5-state area to be able to produce the amount of work they got to do in the next 5 years. So if any of you got offices down in that area and you do civil infrastructure work, I think you could just probably walk in and make sure you got a pulse. It shows you how many people have moved out of the design and construction industry over the last 10 years. Anyway, let's go back to this. So as an estimator, there are only 4 things that go into a project. Only 4. There's not 5, there's not 3, there's only 4. And the first one is consumables. know what that means, right? Consumables, general conditions costs, cell phone just went off, right? Communication, overhead, miscellaneous homework, anything that money gets spent on that's not left behind as the completed project are consumables. Okay, a lot of those. There's a lot of those inside of projects, but as a standard, you estimators know this, you could probably, as far as your consumable costs, you could probably target that as a percentage rate based on the type of project you work on, right? Generally going to run in that range. The next thing you have, for lack of a better word, we're going to call this bricks and sticks. Okay? That's the stuff that's left once you leave the project. Steel and sheetrock and carpet and paint and tables and chairs, whatever. Bricks and sticks. Third thing you have over here is people cost. Whether they're designers, whether they're builders or subcontractors, or anybody that has a heartbeat, walks around on a project and costs labor and time. Or sitting back in an office someplace supporting that endeavor, people, the cost of people go into the project. Does anybody know what the fourth category is? By the way, well, let me ask this first. Does anybody guess what the fourth category is? I bet you can.
Profit?
Huh?
Profit?
No. Your profit's built into the markups, all that. That's with markup and everything else. So in big categories. Bricks and sticks, you got people costs, you got consumables, all for appropriate markup. When was the last time you ever sold a brick to an owner without a markup? We say 0.0 never. Even cost plus work is not cost. Come on. So what's the fourth category? And this Penn State study points some of this stuff out. The fourth category risk. All right? How many times have you done repeat work for the idiot owner or the big government group? You know, Corps of Engineers. You work for the Corps of Engineers, that can be a risky endeavor. There's nothing worse than people spending other people's money on other people's things. We all pay attention when we're spending our money on our things. We need to pay attention when we're spending our money on other people's things. Which my kids and grandkids remind me when Christmas rolls around. But you get a group of people spending other people's money on other people's things, that's a risky endeavor. It's risk. Perceived risk. If you're a builder that's been around long enough, if you're an estimator that's been around long enough in this town, then in the back of your head, you have a grade curve of designers out there. Unspoken little, you know, who are the design firms? You get B&IM, Gould Evans, HNTV, Burns, McDonald, we can't get them. But if you've been, you know what I'm saying? There's good sets of plans and bad sets of plans. There's risk. And so whenever you're putting together an estimate, which this is what you guys estimate, all of this all day. Right? And if you're in a competitive situation, or at least expect to hit the budget reasonably well, then you're going to work this. You're going to work this. Now let's say you got 35% design. Right? Let's say these bricks and sticks are 35%, the solution is 35% done. Well, that means all of the tasty goodness inside of deciding what things are going to be based on what they what things are gonna be based on what they need to do. The owner should give you something that tells them what they, this is the beauty of design build. They give you a description of what it must do in terms of benchmarking the elevation, which affects dirt work. You get to decide if there's not 35%. In terms of what the materials are, the type of construction, how it affects fire safety, life safety, sprinkler systems, roofing, HVAC system, how you can manipulate utility costs. Maybe you offer a power purchase agreement to package along with your building. Maybe if it's infrastructure, you're doing wastewater treatment. You know, how do you use all the little add-ons like different purification systems are all provided? Why? How do you do? I mean, all that stuff. If you got 35% design done, then you an estimator are already on hamstrung. Right? You got one arm tied around your back because there's a singular, and that's the important part. There's a singular direction that's already been decided. The fate of the project and its outcome has already been decided. There's no design that's 35% complete anywhere in the world that doesn't narrow all the possibilities that somebody in this room might have to alter the design. And why do we alter the design? Who or what determines the cost of a project? I asked that at the beginning. What's the answer? The designer. The designer determines the cost of the project. If an owner wants to be inside of his budget, that means he wants to control cost, manipulate cost. What's his most effective strategy? Take that designer with a builder who can tell them what those numbers are, and in unison, provide the outcome expectation at the best, usually the best market cost in the marketplace. And if the design builder has control of who the people are, what the design is, how many cell phones are out there, or consultants or support and everything else, and has control over that, this becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, the Construction Industry Institute will tell you on the cost of a project that's done traditional design build, as much as 40% of that cost in that project is waste. Could be avoided and had an equal performance outcome. Okay? That project I told you about, the RSF, is the design builder that came out of there started a process called cost transfer. And what cost transfer is because the owner came up with a performance scope, not a prescriptive scope. That design builder took cost savings and added it in conjunction with the owner, added it to the quality output of the overall facility without reducing their profit, right, or affecting them adversely. It was voluntary stuff back to the owner. Now the owner had incentivized that in the contract. The owner, rather than a cost savings, the owner chose to provide an award fee bonus. Basically, it's a tip if you leave, after you had your hamburger. And so it was a remarkable outcome for the design builder and a remarkable outcome with the owner. And they tapped into that 40% waste and slows it down. Because estimators are able to work with designers and guide each other. Okay? It's risk. The cost savings is on risk. Let me talk about, I don't know where we're at on time. Anybody got any questions on that? So, what are some of the tricks? And some of you guys may know this. Are you familiar with unit format? Are you familiar with master format? Right? We all know master format. And it starts with 1 through 16. And we all know that master format is set up and was developed based on trades. Right? If you're a subcontractor, you know your number. Right? If you do ceiling tile and insulation, what's that, 9? If you drive nails and wood, you're a 6. If you pour concrete, you're a 3 or 4, I forget now. 3. Right. If you're an electrician, you're a 15. We all know that, right? How many people here have heard of uniform format? Anybody? Good. We've got, there you go. And so you know that is a whole building. It's an outcome-based organizational system. And it's got 7 divisions. And for anybody interested, I use this chart teaching, and I've actually got it printed up, so it's kind of handy. So if you take Division 1 under unit format, which is substructure, how many master format divisions can apply to substructure? Well, there's 3, probably. Concrete. 4 masonry. Huh?
Yeah.
You got some 4 in there. All right? I imagine 6. What's metals? What's steel? That's 5. So we already got 3 in there. That's just in one category of uniform. And we got some 9. You usually have insulation somewhere in that process of substructure. Right? So you've got all these, right? Well, chances are, on every project, since they invented this really nifty little thing called a computer, and even more so databases, don't you estimators take all your numbers from historic, relevant past projects and load them into a database? And you have those loaded in there in a database based on the typology of the project, vertical construction, horizontal construction, hospital versus recreation center. I don't know how you got it organized. But you got to break down by those 16 or 15, 16 divisions, right? Let me get an amen. Okay. So if you took that by type of building, if you took that information and you loaded it in here, and you could align substructure, which is the first division, right? And you align division 2, 3, 5, 9, maybe 6, whatever they are. On a matrix going this way, if you took those costs and added them all up, it would give you a conceptual cost for Division 1 in that same type of building. You wouldn't know exactly how much of those 16 divisions, but you move away from a trade breakdown in your database, right, to an outcomes breakdown in your database, which is a real easy conversion. Boom to boom. You got these 16 divisions. If they went to substructure, they go to Division 1. If they went to shell, roofing, windows, exterior doors, exterior cladding, they go on to Division 2. If it's interior, drywall, carpet, blah, 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 blah. So it's substructure, shell, interiors, services, all electrical, all HVAC, all safety, security, surveillance, low voltage systems, processed water, whatever it is goes in services. And I don't know if I can remember them all. And you got FF&E, which is kind of traditional, demolition, and ultimately site work. Right? So you can take for a type of building or a type of project, even scale projects, and you can break down into 16 divisions. You can break down a percentage outcome. You can do that same percentage outcome in an outcome-based uniform map. Well, why does that work? Well, then you come back and say, based on working with a designer, based on this type of project and the scale and what it is, we can spend 21% of the budget on the shell. 21% of the budget on the shell. So here's a designer I can imagine. You know, it's so funny whenever I talk to people. Once I know somebody's an architect, anytime I talk about architects, I look at that person, so forgive me.
I'm an engineer.
An engineer, you're the engineer, well, you're the designer, and you're the estimator. Yeah. So now you go, guys, owner's got this budget. Historically, on this type of project, the best we can do is about 20% on the show. Then you start having a conversation, okay, what is the aesthetic outcome? What kind of living system do we want? What kind of energy performance do we want? How are we going to insulate this shell? How are we going to control moisture penetration, right? How are we going to maintain the ambient interior? You're starting to focus on a holistic, whole building kind of look to the plan, right? And it's backed by converting all that line item estimating, which is really important, valuable stuff, and it feeds this conceptual estimating. And that's for being able to look for those cost transfer spots. Because once you've estimated out, and hey, guess what? Turns out we're only spending 19% on the show. Well, that's good because this owner wants a security and surveillance system that's taken more than traditionally. That's like less than 1% of the budget. This one's taking like 2%. Right? That's that cost transfer. So that's conversion, 16 division. I'm talking about multiple things at the same time. What I think builders should do, and for that matter, designers, although you're going to battle a battle with traditionals, and that is when you move owners, when you push, market, and encourage, promote, whatever you do to get owners to move to an integrated delivery, to move to a design build, to move to performance-based. Owners need help understanding that the outcome will meet or exceed their satisfaction while giving up that traditional control of deciding plans and specs. If you ask owners in surveys, in places like CII has done this before, they asked who that you work with on your project you love the most. And you know what they always say? The architects. They love the architects. And you know why they love the architects? Because the architect, here's what, is the one that will dream with them. The architect will show them that they're really not fat, ugly people. They're actually beautiful. They put them in front of the mirror, and they show them marble and glass, and all kinds of wonderful things. Unicorns, rainbows, all that kind of stuff. That's what designers do. They love that. They're very, very good at it. I'm not, no disrespect to architects and engineers. Engineers and architects are amazing, amazing, knowledgeable, creative architects more than engineers. No. Valuable, critical, essential components in the construction industry, as are builders, as are owners. I tell owners all the time, you know who your top 3 competitors are, don't you? Or you should. If you're in business, right? You know who your top 3 competitors are. You know, designers and builders know who their competitors are in the marketplace. And I ask owners all the time and say, do you know who your competitor are? What? Yeah. You know who your competitors are. In about it was about 2004. I was in Atlanta doing teaching for GSA. Anybody ever work for GSA? GSA was doing they were working on, I forget what agency they were working on. And anyway, they were down there and they were talking about design build. And one of the representatives of GSA said, well, you know, this all sounds really good and everything, doing all integrated, but there's no design builders in the Southeast. And I said, what? There's no design builders in Atlanta. And I said, what do you mean there's no design builders? Well, there isn't any, because we put out an RFQ, and we didn't get any response from anybody. I said, you're kidding? No. I said, well, can I see your RFQ? Oh, sure. At lunchtime, I'll bring it up. I said, okay, we're finished up this lunchtime. They bring it up, and the guy comes walking in from GSA, the 3-ring binder. All right, it's about that, about an inch, 1-inch binder, and lays it down. It's got the label RFQ, and this is for maybe a $40 million project. So it wasn't a tiny little project. And I said, this is your RFQ. He goes, well, that's volume 1. The other guy's looking for the attachments volume. And I started looking at it, and I was going, okay, let me tell you this. You basically have to play. It's 2004. Builders are making money. Designers are making money. They're out there in the private sector having a blast. You're here creating RFQs that cost somebody thousands of dollars just so they can get in a little group to compete for yet the RFP phase. They are avoiding you like the plague. There's design builders everywhere. You suck as an owner. What do you mean I suck as an owner? You suck as an owner. I'm not speaking French. That's what you are. You suck as an owner. Whoa. Nobody wants you. They don't want to compete for your work. I don't care if it's $40 million. What do they want? They want to bite off this big chunk of risk. Just looking in the Corps of Engineers used to have in their contracts, honestly, not anymore, they used to have in their contracts the brand of steel-toed boots your folks could wear on a job site that they approved of. And I took the Corps of Engineers in Washington, D.C., and they were drilling down just a little bit too far. You know, that's an answer. What's the soul pattern look like? Let's focus on the building, shall we? Builders do a good job of making decisions. They can actually make it to work every morning, you know, without having to think too hard. So the point is, there are crap owners around. And I'm talking as people. I'm talking about their process of acquiring built facilities. They're crap. They don't know what they're doing. They honest to God don't. I've represented owners for some 25 years. And when it comes to selection day, we establish all this criteria, it's all balanced and everything else. They throw that out the door in a second. I really liked, what's your name? Huh? Jack. I think about just Jack. Because I have a shirt just like his. And it's real. I'm talking about, you'd be shocked what owners base their decision on. So when you guys are all suspicious that your selection process hasn't been followed, it not always is in all cases. And so you got to remind them, you got to put them back on. And then there are great ones. They're really great ones. You guys know, you know where K-State is over here? The campus over here? That owner used that outcome. And that owner was really involved. You know, after the selection. He was real, hey, we have criteria here. Let's let the designers and builders, let's let them lead this. Let's let them make the decisions. They'll come up with the right decision. So, I don't know how long I'm supposed to go. I don't even know. It's a little after 10. I don't know when you're supposed to skedaddle to the next minute. I am open to questions, but to recap, how cost, price, outcomes all decided the market needs to change moving forward to affect productivity. Risk is a giant factor. Owners are just now starting to understand how they're allowing a reduction in risk on the designer and builder side of their integrated delivery pays huge dividends on the outcome side. That Colorado project, as I said before, was at the 49th percentile of office buildings in that Denver market where it was built. It was average, dead average, Class A offices. Yet it was, because it was the Department of Energy, and they had their priorities, it was a 100% net zero building, which saves them about $1.2 million a year just in energy production. first came around, well, I go for D, it's just going to price of the project. The reason it drove the price of the project up, for a number of reasons, products that were available that could get you to that point were limited at the time. But one of them was risk. Right? There's all kinds of builders around going, designers and builders going, you know, it's a third-party certification. I don't know if we can actually guarantee we're going to achieve that, right? Isn't that what everybody said? You know, code compliance is a third-party verification process that you guarantee every day. Some builders call that the little idiot that's running around the city that keeps, you know, failing inspections or whatever. So the industry has a way of learning and developing